Let's close off this module with the most common mistakes done by designer when it comes to typography. Consider these typography crimes and avoid them at all costs. First one is inconsistency. It's so prevalent. Inconsistent spacing, sizes, usage of typefaces. Sloppy and inconsistent usage of fonts is a massive sign of amateurism. All of this can be used if you plan and systemize your design. A type system is a great way to ensure consistency, but if you don't follow it and use the same style for different purposes, you're still inconsistent. A fear of this can lead to something else I see often. That's many unused styles. I see beginners defining 6 levels of headings with every single design they make, but they rarely use more than 2 or 3. Only introduce and define a new style if there is a specific need and use case for it. A linear scaling is often recommended, especially by graphic designers, but for UI purposes it's often too limiting, and it can result in massive type sizes that just don't work for web and mobile apps. Cheesy typefaces are also overused by beginners. They feel different and interesting and attention-grabbing all at once, and since you now have the power of a graphic tool in front of you, you think you should use those typefaces. You don't. Neutral beats overly designed and cheesy every single time. Another common mistake is using typefaces that aren't aligned with your brand. You're working for a bold new startup ready to disrupt an entire industry. A safe, neutral typeface might not be the best choice. Look for attributes you'd love your design to communicate and select the typeface or typefaces accordingly. Don't overuse stylings to increase contrast. A line of text doesn't need to be italicized, bold, underlined, and a different color. Less is more. Don't use display typefaces for body text. The other way around is possible, sometimes with no or minimal adjustments, but display typefaces aren't made for long paragraphs and small sizes. Unless your brand is eccentric, don't clash the personalities of your typefaces. One should not communicate trustworthy and professional, while the other one says playful and childish. On the other hand, don't pair typefaces that are so similar it's hard to tell them apart. It just looks like a mistake. There needs to be enough contrast between your choices to make it work. Assign meanings to both and stick to them. That works for any style in a type system, even if you're working with one typeface. Don't use the label styling for body text, if you already have a style created for the body text. I mentioned a couple of times that you shouldn't use more than 2 typefaces, but sometimes even 2 is too much. It's not as big of a crime as some other mistakes I listed, but it's worth noting. Only introduce a new typeface if there is a clear need and advantage in doing so. Don't use typefaces that are too light. It ruins the legibility. If they're used for headings, sometimes there's not enough contrast for them to really work. They can make the brand feel more luxurious, but ensure there's a balance to it. Too extended and too condensed typefaces only work in really specific cases. Avoid them as a beginner. Especially if used for smaller font sizes, they can easily become illegible. If you're using all cap styling, don't forget about character spacing. I see this one way too often too. Check the characters of your typeface. You don't want to end up with missing characters. Try your best to avoid drags and widows. With dynamic content, it might be impossible, but try your best anyway. Test the potential copy and see how to style the text to avoid those. Don't use oblique styling. Always look for typefaces that have italics in case you will use that styling. Often in Figma, beginners might style the text directly in the text box, using multiple styles. Avoid doing that. It's just going to make the lives of developers a living hell, and it's going to frustrate you if you'll have to edit parts of that text. Use multiple text sections for different styles. Do not abuse color. We all look for patterns and reasons why something appears the way it is. If you overuse color, users might think there's a meaning behind it. They might see it as an interactive element, and it might result in a frustrating experience. Use it for accents rarely and use it to signal interactivity. That's it. Take special care of punctuation and special characters. Use hanging quotations. Use the right dashes. Showcase your mastery. Finally, test your typefaces on other devices. It doesn't happen often, but sometimes a typeface looks great in Figma and then horribly on another device in a browser. Type rendering problems are common. There is one solution I found that often helps, but check it with your developers first. I'll attach it in this lesson, and you can discuss it as a potential solution to your problem, if a rendering problem happens. It's most often an issue I saw on Windows machines when using a custom web font. That's all. This was an extensive list of most common typography mistakes, and now that you're familiar with all of them, I hope it's going to make it really, really easy for you to avoid them.